What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 24 driver career mode, and we're here for round number 4 of our first season driving for Haas F1, and it is time for the Japanese Grand Prix. Now it has been a little while since we've done one of these. Last time out we were at the Australian Grand Prix and we had a pretty poor result there. We ended up coming home in P18. Now there have been a few updates to the game since that point. I've been away for a little while to basically give you the TLDR. I've moved house, but we're all set up now, so videos should be returning somewhat regularly, although maybe not quite as frequently as you've been used to in the past, but should still be hopefully a few a week. We are going to be doing the specialist goals, getting all of these in and seeing which ones seem like the best to do. Hopefully we can pass as many of those. You may have seen in the introduction as well that we have been invited to a secret meeting, so we will have a look at that in just a moment. You can see that right now we're doing well to meet our contract performance target at 77 rated at the moment. Hopefully by the end of the season we should be able to reach that 80 rating, but we are going to have to start having a few better results than the one we had in Australia. Generally we've got a bit of an uptick in our driver rating, and yeah, you can see that we are currently the 9th fastest car on the grid, so yeah, not really looking good at the moment. We are going to try and rush through a chassis upgrade to get on the car before the start of the Japanese Grand Prix. We've got a few more upgrades on the way in by the list of things as well. And yeah, then standing wise, you can see that we are currently 10th in the drivers' standings, actually ahead of George Russell in the Mercedes. George Russell, who of course, if you watched the Austrian Grand Prix yesterday, you may know that he is having a pretty decent time of things recently in real life, but in this career mode, not so much. And we can reveal that the secret meeting is with RB. I can tell you for a fact I have absolutely no interest in driving for this team whatsoever, especially if it's looking like Yuki Tsunoda is the driver who I might be replacing. If I had an opportunity to boot Daniel Ricciardo off of the Formula 1 grid, then maybe I might take them up on that offer, but I have absolutely no interest in kicking Yuki Tsunoda out of the team that he currently drives for. So yeah, we are going to be walking away from that meeting. No interest in driving for that team. You know, I would be kind of interested in driving for one of the sort of top 4 of you know, Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, those kind of teams, but absolutely zero interest in driving for any team other than the one that we are currently driving for, which is of course Haas F1. And now we're going to see if hopefully we can bounce back as we make our way to the Japanese Grand Prix weekend. Like I said, I believe it was P18 in Australia that we got last time. Really just a completely unacceptable performance, all things considered, not becoming of the kind of drive that we are trying to deliver, you know, week in, week out to push the team forward and make our way up the order, improve our rating, all that kind of thing. So hopefully we'll be able to bounce back at a track that, on previous years' games at least, has been one of my strongest. You know, if you watch my F1 23 My Team career mode, you remember that I had more than a couple of victories here in Japan, but I think it will be difficult to match that kind of level in a Haas, so we'll have to see what we can do. P18 in practice, 1:31.1. It was a bit concerning that was our best time on a set of soft compound tyres as well. It wasn't even a medium run. We would have almost certainly been maybe second to last, because it doesn't look like Zhou Guanyu really delivered a particularly good performance there. But yeah, we're going to have to really pick things up in time for qualifying. See if we can hopefully get ourselves at least through to Q2, if not through to Q3 as well, and then maybe contend for, you know, sort of a 12th place or something like that. That's got to be sort of the aim most weekends, I reckon, is, you know, competing with the drivers around me. But you know, with all the updates that have happened to the game, it became pretty immediately obvious to me that the setups that I'm running are a little bit outdated now, so I'm going to have to try and find some ways to adjust the setups that I'm running. That's going to be something that will be a big priority for me before we go through to the next race weekend, which will be China. I will say straight away, we did try to tough it out a little bit with the setup we're currently running here, but it was quite clear to me that you know, we're going to be not the easiest in the world to get to grips with. That said, though, our initial run, I think it was a 1:31 something that we did on our first flying lap of Q1, was good enough to put us P16 towards the end of the session, and we did manage to improve by about 0.5 of a second, you can see, as we make our run to the line. So 1:29.4 as we cross the line, so that hopefully, yeah, will be good enough to see us through to Q2. P11 actually a pretty decent performance, and maybe just indicating that we do have the potential to get ourselves through into Q3 if we can find a couple more tenths there, get ahead of someone like Lance Stroll, or maybe Lando Norris, who actually is not having a particularly good time of things so far this season. He's not delivering the performance we have come to know from him. But knocked out here in Q1, it was Ricciardo, Sargent, Hulkenberg, Joe, and Bottas. Both of the Keck Albers knocked out, along with my teammate Hulkenberg, a few tenths off of Alex Albon. So yeah, still some pace to find for him, but obviously we are in one of the worst cars on the grid at the moment. So I'm not going to take too much away from him. I think we're definitely overperforming rather than him underperforming necessarily. And now we're going to see if we can get a good run here in Q2. We're on a used set of soft compound tyres to kick things off, and I don't think that this is the best run that I've done around this circuit by any means. We'll see what kind of lap time this is, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a particularly good one. As we make our way through the final corner, you can see that I'm really struggling for stability on the exit of the corner. As we cross the line, is a 130.7. Now, it was a 129.4 that got us through to Q2, so you'd imagine that we are going to have to improve on this lap time by over 1 second. Unfortunately, the rain came down before the end of the session, and we didn't manage to improve at all. Never mind making an improvement. We didn't even manage to go out on a second run, so we are out in P15, and that is where we'll be starting the Japanese Grand Prix tomorrow. Knocked out alongside both the Alpines of Gasly and Ocon, and Norris and Hamilton also getting knocked out there, with Albon and Tsunoda, perhaps the surprising drivers, making it through to Q3 there. So yeah, good job from the home driver Yuki Tsunoda, P7 in Q2. But now we're going to have to try and make our way through. If we want any chance of scoring points here, we're going to make quite a few overtakes, and we'll see what we can do as we get into the Japanese Grand Prix.
Welcome along then to the magnificent Suzuka International Circuit, a stone's throw away from Issei Bay in the beautiful Japanese countryside. What surprises lie in wait for us today in the Japanese Grand Prix? Race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday and he'll start from pole position. Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso, Perez, Sainz, Stroll, Tsunoda, Albon, Gasly, Norris, Ocon, Hamilton, Robinson, Ricciardo, Sargent, Hulkenberg, Joe, and Valtteri Bottas begins the race from the back of the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. Welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me is Anthony Davidson. Well, you never like to be brutal, but it's not been a good time of it behind the wheel. How does the driver turn the page there? Well, it's all about forgetting last time, because that was a bit of a shocker. How do they change the story today?
You've got to put it behind you. Whatever happened last time, I was always told as a driver, park it, forget about it. Obviously, feel the pain when it happens, but then you can't dwell on it and carry that through to the next race. So put it behind you and just crack on with this race coming your way now.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Well, it is going to be all about strategy today in this race around the Suzuka circuit. We are going to have a real opportunity on our hands to try and make our way forward, but it is very much going to be won and lost based on the tyre strategy we go for, and we're going to go for a very aggressive undercut here. 3 laps earlier we're going to be pitting than the recommended pit stop time, so we're going to be coming in on lap number 10 off the medium compound tyres for a set of hard compound tyres, and seeing whether we can deliver a good performance here with that kind of strategy. You can see we are starting with a 7-time world champion just ahead of us, and then a multiple race winner just behind us as well in Daniel Ricciardo. Obviously gone off the boil a little bit in the recent years of his career, you would have to say, with Daniel Ricciardo, and maybe honestly with Lewis Hamilton a little bit as well. But I still think these guys, their experience is going to make them shine through compared to me. This is my 4th race in Formula 1, of course. It's not going to be easy, but that is where I thrive. We'll see what we can do as the lights come on and the lights go out, and we've had a decent getaway there, but actually it wasn't a great one. We were all over the place, very squirrely off the line, and that has allowed Daniel Ricciardo to maybe make his way through and up into P15, and I think he has pulled this one off. We're going to try and send it back around the outside of him. We actually came under pressure from our teammate Nico Hulkenberg there. We're still going to try and hold on round the outside of Daniel Ricciardo, switch to the inside as we go through the S's, and we are going to be wheel to wheel, much like Hamilton and Norris are wheel to wheel, a little bit further up the road. Lots of battling going on here between lots of different drivers, including myself and Ricciardo, and ultimately the inside line proves to be the best one there as we get a bit of an oversteer moment and just have to catch the car, and that allows Ricciardo to make his way through up in P15. So we've actually lost a position on the opening lap here today in Suzuka, and we're going to see now if we're going to be coming under pressure from our teammate Nico Hulkenberg. Immediately you can see I am just fighting the car on the exit of every single corner. We're going to try and dive back up the inside of Daniel Ricciardo if we can, wheel to wheel through the hairpin, but once again I just don't have the stability, I don't have the grip, I don't have the traction, I don't have any of it. The setup for me today was letting me down immediately. You know, this is a setup which I feel like maybe works slightly better in one lap pace than race pace, and when I say slightly, that is perhaps a little bit of an understatement. Immediately it just really didn't seem like the pace of the car was being unlocked at all in race trim. So as a result of that, we are now going to be coming under pressure here from Nico Hulkenberg as well. Can't quite get ahead of us on this occasion, but all the while you can see that Ricciardo on those hard compound tyres, so on a slower set of tyres compared to us, he's actually starting to pull away from us a little bit. And not only that, but he is losing touch to the cars in front as well. So very quickly it's looking like you know, we're going to be falling back into a lower outside of a points pack that we're going to be fighting in for the majority of this race, unless we really push hard to try and get ahead of Ricciardo as quickly as we can. DRS obviously enabled now, but that won't be a factor until the very end of this lap, because the DRS zone comes up right at the end of the lap. There's only one around the Suzuka circuit, and yeah, I think it's hard to say whether this is my pace around here that's just gone off a lot since last year's game, or whether it genuinely is just a case of the setup being that poor for me. But as we make our way onto lap number 3 now, you can see the chance of me beating Daniel Ricciardo here, getting ahead of him, that kind of thing, I think is slowly slipping further and further away from us. And we will have to probably try and defend from our teammate by the looks of things. The gap has extended to just over a second between myself and Ricciardo. Will I get DRS into the DRS zone? No, I will not, and that is going to leave me massively susceptible to my teammate Nico Hulkenberg. You know, let's not make this too difficult for him. If he's faster than us today, we will let him through and see if he can fight for some stronger points positions here today. You will have to excuse the fact that my voice is a little bit hoarse at the moment. I am recording this on the same day that England played Slovakia in the Euros. I will leave it at that as we now come under pressure from Valtteri Bottas as well, and very, very easy for him. We got knocked out of Hulkenberg's DRS range pretty quickly. We actually have an objective to overtake him before lap 10. I think if we're even in the same postcode as him by lap 10, I will be pretty happy with the performance that we're showing here today, because the car, with the tyres starting to overheat a little bit now and starting to go off the boil quite a lot, losing a lot of grip. I mean, look at that. You can see how much I'm fighting the car. I had 2 separate oversteer moments through the same corner there. I mean, this is just absolutely impossible to drive right now. We're going deep into these corners. We're having oversteer all over the place right now, and that is leaving us open to Logan Sargent. And yeah, I really just think that we have not set the car up correctly here whatsoever. Things have really not worked out for us, and well, we're going to have to try and deal with that. Really, that's all we can do. We can't do anything more than that. We're just going to have to try and fight and see if we can hold on to anything. Maybe hope for some, you know, mechanical failures for other drivers around us or something like that. And yeah, really just try and see if we can snatch anything away from this race. Maybe a few safety cars or something can bring us back into the fold. But as we keep coming under consistent pressure from Logan Sargent, it has already become just so immediately obvious to me that it is not going to be our day here today in Japan. And we're going to be having probably yet another struggle race, you would have to imagine. You know, obviously Australia, that one was lost due to my sort of stubbornness when it came to strategy. There probably was potential for us to score points there if I had been on the right strategy at the right time, but here today in Japan, I don't think anything was going to get us into a good points paying position, as we now are being overtaken by Zhou Guanyu for the final spot on the track, and we are going to be pushed down into P20. We are going to be boxing at the end of this lap, so maybe there will be an opportunity for us to pull off a bit of an undercut, but honestly with the pace that we're showing here today, you would imagine that even that is not guaranteed. We failed an objective a little bit earlier as well. I don't think I'm going to be passing many objectives here today, especially if they involve overtaking other cars, and yeah, really it's just not our day. We're just gonna have to try and bring it home over the next 17 laps, try and get some experience, get some laps under our belt, do everything that we can, and yeah, I don't think there's really anything more that we can do here, unfortunately. I really wanted it to be a good weekend for us, and hopefully show that I still have the pace to sort of mix it up around Suzuka Circuit, but no, it is unfortunately not the one for us. We are set an objective to achieve a lap time of 1:34.1. Our fastest lap time is 1:32.4, and we've just pitted onto a new set of fresh hard compound tyres, so you would imagine that should be fairly straightforward lap time to achieve, but I mean, you never know. It could be a little bit tougher than we were expecting, but as we make our way onto lap number 13, you can see we do a 1:33.6, and that is just about good enough to get us into a position where we can pass that objective. If you look a little bit further up the road, you can actually see that Hulkenberg and Bottas have now pitted, and we've not really closed them down at all. Zhou Guanyu, Alex Albon, some other cars that we were sort of battling with before the pit stop phase, right, they're battling with some cars that were close ahead of us before the pit stop phase, also coming out of the pits now. And even Zhou Guanyu is actually ahead of us. Now, we pitted, 3 laps earlier than he did, and only really we managed to close the gap by about a second or so. Just not really good enough whatsoever. We have now Logan Sargent coming into the pit lane at the end of lap 14. So that's a 4-lap undercut on him, and that was just about good enough to pull us ahead of him. So the undercut really not working here for me today, probably due to the fact that I just have absolutely no pace. And subsequently, with those 4-lap fresher tyres than we had, Logan Sargent was destined to get back past us sooner rather than later, and that is probably the last time that we're going to be experiencing any kind of overtaking from anyone here, as we actually got a track limits warning there. So very foolishly, if there was one thing I was trying to do here today, it was keep it clean, and we couldn't even manage to do that. We've been set an objective to achieve 19th position within 4 laps. I think you and me both know that isn't going to happen, and as we make our way towards the end of lap 23, we can confirm I've only gone further and further back. However, somebody who is tumbling down the order is Charles Leclerc. I don't know if he's had a DNF there, or a mechanical failure. It doesn't look like it. I think it's just maybe some sort of spin or something for the Monegasque driver, but he is now down into P19. We'll see exactly what happened with him on the replay camera here. You can see as he was going through the first couple of corners, just completely lost the back end of the car, went onto the grass, and what really perplexed me after that was that he decided to reverse very slowly onto the track. That really should have been a disqualification for Charles Leclerc for doing dangerous driving like that, in my opinion. But stewarding decisions ultimately not up to me, and as we make our way onto the final lap, you can see that the gap in front is 11 seconds to Charles Leclerc. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to get ahead of Logan Sargent before the end of the race unless he makes an overtake in a bit of an unorthodox position, but ultimately no pace here today. Max Verstappen crosses the line before we even make our way into the second sector of the lap. Such was the pace differential between myself and him today. He was on average over 2 seconds a lap faster than me today. I don't think, I would like to say that maybe this is because we're playing on 104 difficulty or something like that, but I honestly don't think that that's the reason why. I think that this result was very much down to setup here today. I think if maybe I can get a better setup on the car for China, we could at least try and race with some of the cars that are sort of closer to us in terms of pace. But as we come on the run to the line, we're going to cross it to take P20. Comfortably my worst weekend in Formula 1 so far. Absolutely no pace. And yeah, really just a disappointing result all round. Just didn't get things right from the get-go this weekend. Couldn't really recover from that, and yeah, we're gonna have to try and bounce back in China.
Out of the final corner for the final time, Max Verstappen takes the win.
I mean, it looked like they were in a different category at points during the race, led every lap. I mean, what more can we say?
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently. It's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be proud of the victory they've secured here.
Well, it is certainly a bit of an interesting podium here today. Max Verstappen having a bit of a difficult start to the season. Finally finding a bit of form here as he gets a win in Japan, a circuit that he's no stranger to winning at. Actually won one of his world championships here, if I'm not mistaken. But he is flanked by Fernando Alonso in P2, a fantastic result for the Spanish driver there. And then George Russell in P3 as well. I'm sure he'll be very happy with that performance as well. So yeah, I'm sure it will be smiles all round on this podium.
And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
So in the end, it was P14 for Nico Hülkenberg, a decent result given where he started. And yeah, just a disappointing result for myself. Just couldn't really muster up any pace whatsoever there. Yuki Tsunoda getting points in his home race. I'm sure he'll be very happy with that. But wow, this is not something that I think you would have expected to see. It is Sergio Perez leading the World Championship at the moment as we drop down to 11th off the back of that podium finish from George Russell. P6 in the Constructors' Championship as well. Hopefully we'll be able to deliver some more points because Alpine are starting to look like they might catch us in the championship if we don't start scoring some points pretty soon. And yeah, I overall just really not happy with everything that happened over the course of this weekend. Just feel like I could have done a lot more if we'd worked out the setup a bit more. I kind of got a bit cocky, I suppose, is probably the best way I can describe it. You know, obviously there've been a few updates since the last time I played the game. I basically didn't play the game entirely for almost 2 weeks. It was between Australia and recording this race as well, due to you know, the move and all that kind of thing. It obviously wasn't my number one priority during that time to be playing the Formula One game, but nonetheless, we did manage to deliver a performance that I can at least be happy that we managed to make it to the checkered flag. So you know, if we're taking silver linings away from this race, good learnings. Hopefully, we'll be able to improve our rating at least a little bit through you know, completing a couple of objectives. I think we completed one in that race, and just generally not picking up too many penalties, that kind of thing. So that's at least something that we can take away. But yeah, I mean, look, I really don't want another weekend like this if we can avoid it. So I'm hoping that I will be able to identify not only the right sort of setup to go on in China, but also the right strategy, and also you know, looking at stuff like the right difficulty to be racing on and things like that, because I really don't want to have another repeat of this race. This was one of those races that reminded me a little bit of when I did my F1 22 My Team career mode. That was a long time ago now, so I don't know if there'll be many people watching this that remember that, but season 1 of the F1 22 My Team career mode was pitiful for the most part, because that was the year that basically the AI just had such superior traction to you out of basically every single corner that you couldn't possibly race with them. You know, I would get these really good qualifyings for My Team career mode, get myself up into, you know, the top 10, Q3, all that kind of thing, and then by sort of lap 13, 14, that kind of thing, we'd be finding ourselves down in last place, maybe save for our teammate or something like that. So yeah, it was really not a fun experience, and I really hope that I don't have to go through something similar on this year's game, because like I said, that was an incredibly unpleasant and quite frankly unenjoyable experience. And that's kind of how I would describe this race as well. I got really frustrated when I was driving this race, just because it was so flat, I suppose, probably the best way to describe it. So yeah, I'm hoping and praying that it was a setup issue rather than anything else. Obviously, I can drop the difficulty a little bit if need be as well, so that's something else we could explore. But I'm always reluctant to drop it too much, as I'm sure you're aware, because I don't want to have a situation where I drop it by such a significant margin that I then come into the next race and suddenly I'm, you know, 5/10 faster than everybody else as well, because that would honestly maybe be even worse than having a race like this at this stage, because of the caliber of car we're driving in. We managed to improve our racecraft by 7 points, which is quite something. But overall, I think our rating did actually go up off the back of that race. Obviously, the team pretty happy with the fact that I rejected that secret meeting with RB as well. So hopefully that's done well for us. It seems like we've improved to the point that we are sort of on even terms with Nico Hülkenberg, which after 4 races is honestly pretty good. Not only that, but we also completed all of the objectives that were set for us by our specialists over the course of the weekend. We meet all of the goals that we've had there, so that's something that we can be happy about as we continue improving our relationship with them and hopefully soon getting some bonuses from them. But that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe. Next up is China, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.